everybody, this is Chase Matthews. It is Saturday, March 31st, 2012, and this is In Your Car with my very first guest, none other than the first, Jack Thriller.
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going, Jack?
Groovy, baby. It's going groovy.
Where are we heading today, man?
We're heading to a wrestling show. It's in a little town called Mason. It's about, I would say, 15 miles south of Lansing in the great state of Michigan.
Great state. All right, I've got a couple questions for you. A couple people out there interested. First question comes from Daniel Sutton. He wants to know where you were born and raised.
Well, Danny, that's a weird question. I was born in a little town called Hillsdale, Michigan. And then I was raised in a smaller town called Ransom. That's about, if you go and look at the map, you see the southern part of Michigan. I'm where Ohio and Indiana all come together. And if you go from the bottom half, I'm about 15 miles north of there. So I'm pretty close to being an Ohesian in Indiana, but I still represent Michigan. What's up?
All right. Second question comes from Mikey McKenzie. When did you start watching wrestling?
Well, I started watching wrestling probably when I was 10, because we only had 2 damn TV channels when I was growing up, until I was about 15 actually, because then we got the satellite dish, because I lived out in the sticks. So about 10 is when I took my first trip and stayed the summer with my aunt and uncle, and my uncle was a big wrestling fan, so he knew what time all the shows came on, and we watched it. And just like any young man, action adventure is your middle name. You'll love anything like that. And I mean, it's take exit 7 here, and we're gonna go to Larch. You stay on Larch. Is that what you said?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Okay. Third question comes from Gabriel Edgar. Where are they getting these names from? Who were your heroes growing up?
Heroes, like in wrestling?
I'm assuming so. The question just says heroes growing up. All
right. Well, we'll stay with wrestling. I was pretty much kind of did what WWF told me to at the time. So I liked Hogan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, like that. I didn't really develop my own opinion of who I liked or what style I liked wrestling until I was like 15. And then I gravitated more towards Bret Hart because I liked that style of wrestling. I discovered NWA, which then was WCW in '95, and then I really liked a lot of those guys.
Take a left on Cedar.
So I would say generally I'm a big fan of the more aggressive style of wrestling, the more like mat-based wrestling and what have you. But Hulk Hogan will always have a spot in my heart. And so will like Big Boss Man. He was always one of my favorite guys to watch. So yeah.
We're looking for East Mount Hope.
East Mount Hope. Okay.
You're taking a right.
All right.
All right. Next question comes from. Who's this guy's name? Greg. It just says Greg.
Well, Greg, I'll put your last name so you can get a proper response.
What influenced you to become a wrestler?
Well, my story is pretty funny. I have actually a funny story. It's I was working in a factory in Indiana right out of high school. I was like 18 years old, and I was working in this factory. We painted boxes, not like cardboard boxes, but like steel boxes. And there was this guy that worked there. His name was Greg. Funny, but I know his last name, Greg Falk. And he wanted to be a pro wrestler, something fierce. And we had watched a couple pay-per-views together and stuff like that, and then he happened to see Dan Severn have a newspaper ad in the Coldwater paper, and it said, "Come learn how to be a professional wrestler." Well, and I take it right on Mount Hope, and I thought to him, I said, "That's nuts, I'm not very tall. I'm a little guy, and wrestling I always thought was giant men." So he's like, "No, come on. Dan said it'd be better if 2 of us came. That way we'll be able to train and to move along in the program." And I was like, "I don't want to do it." And I told him that. For like 2 weeks, I fended him off and said I didn't want to do it. And then finally he said, "Hey man, I'll pay you the first month if you come with me. And if you like it, you stay. If you don't, you don't." And I said, that being very fickle with my money, I said, "Okay, fine. If you're paying for the first month." And I had full intentions of quitting. after the first month. Well, I got there and I got hooked. I don't know. I enjoyed it a lot. And that's how I kind of started in the wrestling business.
Second left on Forrest.
Forrest?
Yep. Right there. All right. Third question comes from.
This Forrest? That says Washington, doesn't it?
It says Forrest.
That says Washington.
This is Forrest right here.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
Was this Oh yeah. Third question comes from this.
Can't you read your names? It says Josh Matthews.
Oh, that's okay.
God, read.
Sorry, chicken scratch. He wants to know who trained you.
Well, like I said earlier, Dan Severn had the initial training. Taught me, the basics, how to hook up and all that jazz like that. And then another man, about 2 years later, refined me, gave me the sharpening that I needed, and his name was Denny Cass. He's one of the amazing kangaroos from the AWA.
All right.
He also trained Briar Wellington, and I believe he also trained Steve Rivera or Anthony Rivera, but I'm not really sure on him. I know Briar was trained by him for sure. What's the address?
22
what?
2218 or something.
18?
Maybe we passed. It's on my phone.
We passed.
2218, yeah.
All right. And that's about it. I mean, I've had other, I've gone to seminars for other guys and learned like what they had to offer, and I think I've been a pretty good student of people I've worked with and watching them over the course of my tenure. But yeah, the two people that initially have trained me that I is Denny Cass and Dan Severn.
Oh yeah, next question comes from Tyler Jacobs. I got that one this time.
Good.
He wants to know how many years you've been active.
An active professional wrestler since 2002 until 2008 when I broke my ankle in 3 spots. And then I took the last 2 or 3 years off. I took the last 3 years off. For one, it took a year. I had to have my ankle rebroken by the doctors twice. And then I took a year off, another year after that to try to, not be so fat and all that jazz. But, so I would say from 2002 to 2008, 6 years, and then from October 2011 till now. So probably 6 years, almost 7 years.
This one comes from Zach Richards. He wants to know.
I'm gonna park over here behind this railroad car.
What?
This is CJ Otis's house, by the way. That's where CJ Otis lives, 22218. If anybody cares to stalk him.
Sure,
I probably look like a maniac. This would be like the 3rd time I've backed in and out of this driveway. And I'm over the curb and everything.
We got kind of the DDP Sarah videos going on.
Yeah, it is kind of like DDP. But I'm not stalking him. He's expecting us. I don't see his car.
Zach, he wants to know, what was your hardest match ever?
I don't really have an answer to that, really. Professional wrestling is pretty hard. And in general, it's hard on your body, I guess. I guess I wish he was here and I could ask him, because what did he mean? Like the hardest one that hurt, like I got the most brutal, the most what, or anything like that. I guess hardest match right now, I would say, to date would be it might sound as the roughest on me. It might sound really bad, but I wrestled this young guy named Xavier Justice in 2006 in Pittsford, Michigan, for Nitro's CIW's wrestling show down there, and we did a ladder match for their I would want to say their mid-card title. I don't remember the name of it, and I ended up, after the end of it, I had to have 30 stitches in my head from a chair shot, and then Xavier ended up having to go to the hospital and having a a splinter removed from the back of his arm from when I put him through a table. So that was like the bloodiest and the hardest match I think I've had. Necro Butcher punched me one time in the nose and I whimpered. So that was pretty intense.
All right, this next one comes from. Here we go with the handwriting again. Can you read that?
Can I read that?
Yeah.
This is Matt Buys.
Oh, heard of that guy. He wants to know where's the furthest you've ever traveled for a show.
I would say probably Philadelphia was probably the farthest I've ever gone. But I've been to England in 2004, so I guess that's the farthest.
For wrestling?
Yeah, for wrestling. So I was
Pretty
in
cool.
2004. CJ Otis and I went there, and we stayed 7 days. So that was probably that is the farthest that I've ever been. But in the United States, it's Pennsylvania. I drove that with Josh Abercrombie and Billy Rock. That was a long drive. We also went to Missouri a couple times, but that's only like 8 hours. Where this Philly was like 12 or 10.
Oh, you say CJ Otis as in the CJ Otis that lives in that house right there?
Yeah, CJ Otis. Yeah.
Okay, that peach and
Yeah. 2218.
lighter peach color, I guess you would call it.
2218. I'm gonna call him here.
Okay.
What's your next question?
The very last question comes from Corey Matthews.
Okay.
Not to be confused with the one.
Josh Matthews' brother.
Yeah, I just caught that. Not to be confused with the one with Boy Meets World.
Hey, where you at? So how far away?
It's a short commercial break.
Okay, cause I'm here at your pad. Oh, go knock on the door. She drive an Aveo. Yep. All right. Go down your driveway and then go around. Okay. All right, dude. Yep.
Last question.
Okay.
Where'd you come up with the name Jack Thriller?
I have honestly no clue. When I was 17, I got drunk and tattooed my own name on my belly.
Can we get that?
Yeah, I tattooed Jack onto my stomach. So I was pretty much married to that at that point. So, and Thriller, I have honestly, I do not remember. It happened in like 2003 because when I first started wrestling, I was the Redneck Punk. That was my name, and I was a tag team partner with a guy named the Plowboy. And he quit wrestling. I hated the Redneck Punk character, so I wanted something different. So I think I bought a singlet and spray painted Thriller on it. I don't remember. Jack Thriller's just been what it's been since 2003.
I think it might be the goat that you have growing. The goatee. Might be what it is.
The goatee, I've shaved it like twice in the last 10 years. It's been pretty much the only thing I've ever had.
Before we end this, is there anything you want to say to the people who say wrestling's fake?
You guys are dumb. It's not fake. It's not fake. And I'm not going to go into the details because you can find a bunch of YouTube videos that tell you all this jazz. It's not. You get hit in the face, you get kicked in the guts, it sucks. But you do it because you love it, not because you make millions of dollars. There's only about 10% of the entire professional wrestling population that make money at it. And unfortunately, I am not one of them. But I like it because I love it, not because I need to do it and I make tons of loot. And wrestling's not fake.
All right, well, this was Chase Matthews and Jack Thriller
Hey, let's
in the
go.
car.
Come on. Get up.